Hi everyone, welcome to Crypto Market, the educational channel about cryptocurrencies. This time we are going to look at a very important topic. The question that many people ask: can Bitcoin die? Lots of people want Bitcoin to die. We see it all the time on social media, on the news, and sadly many people believe all those lies. Bitcoin was created in 2009 with the intention of allowing people to exchange value without the need for a middleman. The first and most common comment is that Bitcoin is not money, that it has no backing. Those who use this argument are normally governments and banks because they need to control citizens. Governments love to impose what is right and what is wrong. The support that fiat money has are a few politicians on duty making decisions at will and looking for their own benefit. The backing that Bitcoin has is an encrypted mathematical code, resistant to censorship and manipulation, and gives people total autonomy over their money. Bitcoin, unlike fiat money, does not depend on any government. One of the main features of Bitcoin is finite issuance. For example, a person like Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan constantly makes unsubstantiated affirmations. He recently said that he would not buy Bitcoin because he did not know if more would be created later. Here you can see the level of cynicism of these people, a representative of the traditional bank who loves that the central bank prints banknotes to infinity. The code with which Bitcoin was created is programmed so that there are only 21 million Bitcoins, and that is not easy to modify. For that to happen, the vast majority of the community would have to agree. And here, it is very important to comment that Bitcoin is more than a code. The true essence of Bitcoin is that it is a social consensus. Bitcoin is an idea that has become a very powerful social contract. Precisely to fight against all those powers, they only make decisions for their own benefit. Another very important feature is decentralization. Bitcoin has thousands of nodes distributed throughout the world. This allows the network to be increasingly secure and allows any decision to be made on the network to be made by consensus in the community and are not arbitrary decisions. A third fundamental component is the Unspent Transaction Output Protocol. This is hardly talked about. And this is one of the central concepts that allow the correct functioning of the blockchain technology that was developed for Bitcoin. UTXOs solve the problem of double spending on a digital currency, and they are essential to be able to receive and send Bitcoin on the blockchain. Bitcoin cannot be copied or counterfeited. You can't just copy the code and think you've made a real-life copy of the entire ecosystem. Already many people have copied the Bitcoin code and have tried to promote it as a beta version, and they have always ended badly. These are some examples of those projects. See that the charts say it all. Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV, Bitcoin Gold, Bitcoin Z, Bitcoin Nex, Bitcoin Diamond. All these projects are the greatest proof that Bitcoin cannot be forked, copied, and tried to change. Because the community already knows what it wants. First attempt to kill Bitcoin. Totalitarian government. And if a government wanted to create its own Bitcoin, and instead of 21 million, it creates 40 or 50 or 60 million coins, or infinite as they like, with bigger blocks, with thousands of nodes under their control. Who will want to use those coins? The answer is nobody. And the only way in which that government will be able to get people to use those coins would be through violence, as they always do. Forcing citizens to use their new digital currencies, and at this point government-issued coercion money has just been reinvented. It would be more of the same, and even worse, because with that currency the government would have more control over the citizens. People are going to find a way to get out of those imposed digital currencies and continue investing in Bitcoin, and human beings have shown that they have a lot of creativity for that. If that happens, Bitcoin would continue to have its thousands of nodes totally decentralized, and it would continue to be free of censorship. Second attempt to kill Bitcoin. Attack 51%. If someone wants to do a 51% attack, he needs to control more than 50% of the hash rate in the network. He also needs to have a very powerful network of miners so that they are always the ones to mine the next block, and this should be done in seconds before other miners execute that next block. The idea has been sold that the person who carries out a 51% attack is going to take control of the entire network and all the Bitcoins. No, that is totally fake. Basically, the attacker can't spend our Bitcoins, he can't spend someone else's Bitcoin, he can only try to spend double his own Bitcoins. Attacks only affect the top of the blockchain, one or two most recent blocks, and cannot go back and rewrite older blocks. Here the problems for the attacker begin. Because even if the attack on the network has been carried out successfully, the attacker does not have it so easy. Most likely, quite quickly the nodes will notice, and the cryptocurrency exchanges will also realize that something is not right. They will automatically start rejecting the attacker's coins and blocks. It already becomes a problem for him to sell those Bitcoins. The next step to fix the attack is to take a snapshot of the UTXO pool of the block before the block the attack was performed on. And then the system would be rebooted into a fork using a new hash algorithm. This automatically shuts out the attacker. So, look at how the attacker would cost much more for the same attack than the benefits he would obtain. Third attempt to kill Bitcoin. Quantum attack. Quantum computers are a reality. Companies like IBM, Google, and Intel are already working on them. They are advancing, but many years of research and development are still to come. At this point, a quantum attacker could not only attack Bitcoin, but also the entire world financial system and all government files. Literally, the entire planet Earth would be at risk. But don't worry, because with the progress in quantum research, in parallel, work is also being done to maintain security when these computers can be fully used. Some are in development and others are already used for various projects today. For example, zero-knowledge proofs have enormous potential for resistance to quantum computing. In Bitcoin, the creation of pay-to-public key hash transactions adds an additional security measure to protect public keys from a possible quantum attack. And in Zcash and Monero, they already use advanced cryptography techniques that are resistant to quantum computing. Other schemes known for their high resistance are Extended Merkle Signature Scheme. There is also SPHINCS, another quantum computing resistant cryptography scheme. Both schemes were designed by the researcher Andreas Hulsing. All cryptocurrencies will gradually prepare for that moment. And here we must also be very objective. Quantum computers are not evil machines that are going to destroy planet Earth. They are quite the opposite. If they are fully utilized, they would be capable of making enormous advances in areas such as computer security, medicine, economics, artificial intelligence, materials design, and scientific research in many fields. Look at this little fact. The technology that companies such as IBM, Google, or Intel are using to manufacture their quantum processors uses superconducting qubits, which are characterized by working at a temperature of approximately -273 degrees Celsius. And finally, let's look at the most catastrophic attempt. Fourth attempt to kill Bitcoin. Shut down internet globally. In order to kill Bitcoin, absolutely every government on the planet would have to remove the internet worldwide. Which is the most absurd idea, because not only would they end Bitcoin, but also the water supply. All the banks in the world would also collapse, the hospitals, the entire planet would collapse. It is now practically impossible for that to happen. In the case where the internet goes away in 80 or 90% of the planet Earth, something called a network partition would happen, where Bitcoin runs in some part of the world that still has an internet connection, and at the same time there are small local networks. What happens is that when the internet is back up and running on the entire planet Earth, all these different internet networks will reconnect to each other. And in that case, the Bitcoin blockchain that is longest and has the most accumulated proof of work is going to win. That would be the authentic Bitcoin blockchain. This is how the protocol works. In conclusion, Bitcoin is much more than the internet and a code. Bitcoin is an idea, is a globally distributed social consensus, and it's going to be very, very hard to stop. Well, my friends, this is all for this video. I hope this video helps you look at Bitcoin in a very positive way, look at all the potential it has for the future. If you found this information interesting, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps me to continue uploading videos with a lot of crypto information.